Welcome to your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 404. If you're writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing your book but you're having a little bit of trouble getting it done, or perhaps you're at the stage where you need some help reaching more readers to let them know about your book, you are in the right place. Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh, also known as Christine Inc. Every day I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 18 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they have the ability to turn a quote-unquote non-author into a published one. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. Here's today's quote. I take a deep breath and sidestep my fear and begin speaking from the place where beauty and bravery meet, within the chambers of a quivering heart. Terry Tempest. Well, once again, good morning and happy Tuesday. And something I've been doing lately, I've been putting together some thoughts on what might be coming next for authors. I did a blog post on this, fairly recently, but I'm continuing the thinking. So that means you're going to be continuing to get my thinking from me in various ways, whether through my Writer Wednesday emails, my blog posts, or here on the show. So some of these are general thoughts and some of these are specifically post-pandemic related. But anyway, here is my current set of thoughts, three of them to be specific. So number one, you've probably noticed things are a little quieter now, especially compared to typical spring times. I've found when the ramp up to summer, when things get usually super quiet in the summers, business-wise, publishing-wise, things like that. Springtime can usually get pretty hectic, but we've probably had the quietest spring in recent history, obviously, with the situation. So certainly less outright selling that I've seen on social media, thankfully so. That reminds us of the value of good old-fashioned conversation and connecting with your audience rather than speaking at them and trying to sell. So that's been one of the good things that's come from this. I think you'll agree. But this doesn't mean that in terms of writing books and talking about the ones you've written, that it does any good for anyone for you to completely go dark, for you to go totally silent. And there is a fine line between being sensitive to the situation and, yes, specifically avoid being loud or in your face, which really never should be anyway. But there's a fine line between being sensitive and being invisible. So just be careful. I think my message here is just, be careful about totally going away, because my thinking is, if your voice and your stories and your ideas, if they're not valuable now, very blunt question here, were they ever really valuable? So just something to think about, that your voice is needed in all times. And again, I'm glad that the, buy my stuff crowd has been quieted a little bit, but doesn't mean the rest of us need to follow their lead, especially if we have very important things to say that can help people. And the second observation I've made, and another advantage of the recent silence, however, is a potentially strategic advantage for independent authors, also known as self-published authors. So if we think about it, traditional publishing hubs are in large cities like, London, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, things like Miami, the bigger cities. So cities, and on a human level, quite tragically, they saw the greatest impact from the coronavirus, those cities. And yes, I'm sure the big publishing houses did their very best to move many of their operations virtual as quickly as possible. But remember that even with technology as agile as it is today, it's nearly impossible for giant corporations to move that quickly, to just make it business as usual from everybody's home if they're not used to that. Especially for companies who have been around for a very long time, like these publishing companies have. And yeah, it's very hard for them to move. I've heard from other, some of my clients are, CEOs and other, positions at large companies. And this was definitely a curveball that they were thrown, trying to make even a portion of their company operations virtual. So if you think of these publishing houses and just the amount of activity that happens every day, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, everybody's going to work from home now. Well, that's not always, a plausible solution. So what does this mean for us, for independent authors, for self-published authors? In a nutshell, I predict that the typically busy publishing dates for the remainder of 2020, like September and December are usually the big ones, will be much less busy than usual. Because again, publishers have likely been continuing to work virtually, but it's also likely that they were forced to prioritize their work, which means probably not greenlighting and producing a heck of a lot of new titles for this fall. So for indie and self-published authors, I say, get moving. We can publish just as easily at home as we always have. Click the button, you're published on Amazon. So I would say let's all see how we can take advantage of what I see as an upcoming lack of competition with, bigger titles, especially during those two times. So I say go for it. And I'm very curious to see if my prediction pans out here, but that is, I guess that's the danger, that's the risk of predictions, is you never know where they're going to go. But that's my current thinking. And finally, the third thought I've had recently about this, I continue to believe also that moving forward, as people continue to gravitate toward the familiar and the comfortable, whether as distractions, entertainment, inspiration, or all of those things, like mental comfort food, books will continue to be on the list of things that bring comfort. Because they always have for most people. All the way back to childhood, books have brought us a certain level of comfort and nostalgia and certainty, to use the opposite of the word that is heard all the time now, certainty. So also for your thought leaders out there, don't forget about all the opportunities with books about kind of quote unquote post-pandemic topics, like how to navigate the new version of our world, whether financially, career, job search, health-wise, all the other things that are going to undoubtedly shift even a little in our world, which means authors, thought leaders, storytellers, keep writing, keep sharing, keep teaching, keep talking, because your audience needs you now more than ever. Keep living your purpose. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. And if you know someone else who wants to write and finish writing an awesome book, please let them know about the show. They could just go to yourdailywritinghabit.com and they could tune in. Until tomorrow, happy writing.